Okay, let me just. There we go. Hopefully, you can hear me. The mic looks like it's working. Hang on, I'm still getting it together here. But good evening. Welcome, everybody. Today is March the 3rd, 2026. And here we are again. I'm Roy, and welcome to Life After 55. Um, Before we start, now wait a second, I just screwed something up. Okay, here we go. There we go. All right. Before we start, I wanted to talk about something. The last the last live stream that I did, it got shadow banned on YouTube, and that kind of ticked me off, and I still haven't gotten over it. So I want to just get that off my chest right now before we get into anything here. Um, you know, I just it really bugged me because there was nothing wrong with that stream, and for them to shadow ban it to me was just totally unjustified. So, you know, they hit it with a political advertising violation, and there was zero political content in that video. There was nothing at all about politics, candidates, parties, nothing, policies. There wasn't one single word about politics in that stream. Yet, um, YouTube decided in their wisdom to ban it for political advertising. That's what the ban said. And again, that was the same as we always do. It was straight health, retirement slash money talk, and just headlines. That's all we did in that stream. The same kind of show, like I said, that we always do. Um, so I did what you are supposed to do. I protested it. I filed an appeal with YouTube saying that there was no political content in it. And I waited for them to get back to me, which they did to their credit. But you know what they came back with? They supposedly reviewed it, which I don't know if they did or didn't. And they let the band stand. That's the part that really gets to me because I did what I was supposed to do. I followed their process by appealing it and everything. I gave them every chance to fix their mistake, and they still said, "Nope, we're good." Either no real human ever looked at it, it was just the algorithm double clicking yes, or a human looked at it and decided that the robot that YouTube has or uses or whatever was right, even though the content was 100% clean. That is not moderation. That's not a review. That's a system that can kneecap your reach. It can limit who sees your stream, and it punishes you for something you didn't do with zero real explanation, zero accountability, and zero meaningful way to fight back. When censorship comes from a black box algorithm, excuse me, from a black box algorithm that doesn't have to justify itself, and even the human review is just a rubber stamp, it stops feeling like a platform mistake and it starts feeling more like deliberate control. To me, that's disdainful. It's disrespectful to every viewer who shows up for real information and to every creator trying to help people without an agenda and to the whole promise of open conversation. But here's the thing, they don't get to win that way. You guys keep showing up and asking for real, questions and answers. And so we keep going. We keep talking, we keep delivering value anyways. And tonight is not any different. We're going strong, health, wealth, and headlines. Now, just as a footnote to all that, um, what I did was when they shadow banned the video, I deleted it from YouTube so it wouldn't get a strike or whatever, and I put it on our Facebook page. So we have a Facebook page, which is facebook.com/LA55 HWH. So if you'd like, you can see the video there in its unedited, or, or unedited, whatever, glory, and you can see for yourself there was nothing political about it. But anyways, it is posted on the Facebook page. So if you are interested, you can go see that there. Okay. And if YouTube wants to play robot judge and jury, that's just fine. I'm just going to keep being human and keep the conversation alive. And if I have to, if they shadow ban this one because of what I'm saying right now or whatever, then so be it. I'm just going to, again, put it back on the Facebook page. And pretty soon, I guess we're all just going to have to watch it on the Facebook page. Um, so, anyhow, that's my little rant, if you will. And Um, anyways, I got that off my chest. So let's all take a deep breath. As my mother used to say, hands in the air, breathe deep whenever she was getting upset. But anyhow, so let's breathe deep and let's get into it. So the first thing up tonight that we want to talk about is a spring health reset that actually works after 55. And it's not going to be anything outrageous or crazy or whatever. It's something we can all do. And by the way, just to let you know, I walked to our mailbox today, and our mailbox is, I don't know, I don't know how many yards, but yeah, I always look at it like tractor trailer trucks. The trailers on those trucks are like 53 feet long. So I'm figuring from the front door here to the mailbox, you could probably put, three of those trailer truck trailers back to back to back, and it would reach our mailbox. So that's what, 5,359 feet, something like that. That's how far it is. And so what, 300 feet back and forth. Anyways, I walked up there, and now, again, for those of you who have been watching me for a long time or whatever, since the beginning or thereabouts, you know that I have COPD, so I already have trouble breathing sometimes. But I'm telling you, I haven't been that active, and I know I preach it all the time, and this time I'm really gonna start going for it. But when I walked to the mailbox today, and it was a nice day out, it was a nice spring day. I walked up to that mailbox and walked back, and I was, like, totally winded. You would think that I just ran a marathon or something, I'm serious. So I was like, "Whoa," I really need to start, walking more and whatever. So that was an eye opener. But anyways, you know how winter can leave you feeling a bit heavier, more tired, maybe the joints are complaining a little extra. And again, that's kind of why I went this route tonight, because I'm feeling all that. And the other thing is spring is finally showing up. I mean, today I drove around some, and I had some errands to do and some appointments to run and whatnot. But I noticed a lot of the trees are starting to bloom and everything. So tonight, we're starting with a simple spring health reset. And again, nothing over the top. You don't need any fancy gear or any strict rules, just easy changes that, can give you more energy, better movement, and help you feel stronger for the long haul. Pardon me. Something's not agreeing with me. Um, excuse me. I'm sorry. If any, let me let me regroup here. If any of that sounds good, stick with me, okay? And I promise I will get back on track here. So let's just jump right in, all right? And let's start with something easy like walking and hydration. Like again, what I did today, even though 300 feet is not really a big walk, but to me, it was like I said, it was like I was doing a marathon. Okay, so first and foremost, and again, I hope this microphone is on and working. But honestly, this is the biggest win. If you get outside and walk 20 to 30 minutes a day, you're gonna feel it in a couple weeks. And I'm not talking a power walk or anything, and that's kind of what I did to the mailbox. I sort of power walked up there and power walked back. Um, and I'm not making an excuse. The fact is I would have been tired the other way too, but not as tired, I don't think. But anyways, you know, if you just take a slow, steady walk, whatever, for 20 or 30 minutes a day, it's gonna help. Did you know that walking lowers heart risk by like 20 to 30% for people who are over 55? It also lifts your mood and it gives you some free vitamin D from the sun. So an added bonus. You start feeling it in a week, maybe 2, and you're gonna feel, you're gonna feel a little peppier. You're gonna start sleeping better. And if you're just getting started, do 10 minutes. That's fine. Like me today, that was a 5-minute walk up and back. So tomorrow or whatever, I'm gonna try to do a 10 or a 15-minute walk and go like that. And you guys can join me and we can share each other's progress here. Or you can hit me in the comments with it. But you just add a little more every week. Go a couple days of 10 minutes, 15 minutes, then, try to go 20, 25, whatever. Your body will thank you, believe me. Um, and I think it's possible where we could all sneak in a quick walk every day. So, if you're watching this and listening to this, do you think you could, sneak in a quick walk tomorrow? And on top of that, um, here's another thing. Drink a big glass of water the very first thing when you wake up. And again, I don't do that. I used to have to do that, not have to, but it was recommended in my job to do that because it fires up your brain immediately if you just chug a big glass of water first thing before you do anything. Um, and it does work. I gotta admit it does, because I remember when I did used to do it, it did, it does. It fires up your brain cells or whatever. I don't know, but it does work. And once you hit 55 and beyond, our thirst signal gets, a little quieter. So dehydration sneaks in and it makes you feel wiped out or foggy headed. Um, 8 to 12 ounces of water before coffee or anything else is a big, big improvement. And if you're not a water drinker like me, I'm not. Throw in a slice of lemon or something if the plain water feels too boring for you. Lemon helps it freshen it up and makes it taste a little better if that's what you're after. And if you can, try and keep a bottle by your bed or by the sink or whatever. Just it was somewhere where you'll see it because you'll drink it if you see it, I think. At least, that's how I look at it. And it's not a hard habit, it's a simple habit to start, and it makes a big difference. Okay? So, let's talk about protein and balance next, and we need to start that with breakfast. First of all, muscles start slipping away faster and faster after 55, and nobody wants to feel weak doing everyday things. And again, like me, I'm going to go back to my little mailbox story. I felt wiped out, physically and breathing wise. Um, so, I'm losing muscle, I'm sure. And, I felt it in my legs just walking up there and back. But, you don't want to feel that way just doing everyday things, normal things. You know, Try to aim for 20 to 30 grams of protein at your first meal. If you have eggs with a little bit of cheese or Greek yogurt with nuts, cottage cheese, one of those protein shakes or something, easy stuff. I've seen people add this and say, I just feel stronger. And it keeps you independent that much longer. Now, as far as balance goes, a quick balance trick that you can start doing is when you're brushing your teeth in the morning, stand on one leg for like 30 seconds, on each leg. Do 30 seconds on one leg, then switch to the other leg. Hold on to the sink or the counter there by the sink if you need to at first. 2 minutes a day is going to strengthen your ankles and core. And it's huge for not falling. How many people get injured, 50, 60, 70 years old that fall, um, and get injured, broken hips and broken bones and whatnot, and even worse. And this helps to fight that off. So give it a try tonight. If you're brushing your teeth before you go to bed, try it tonight. Try it again in the morning. All right. And then we have sunlight and connection. Now, this is another free one. Get morning sunlight. Step outside or stand by a window for 15, 20 minutes as soon, after you wake, as soon as you wake up and you're going into the kitchen, drink your water, grab your coffee, and go outside and stay 15, 20 minutes in the sun with your coffee. It resets your sleep rhythm. It helps with your vitamin D levels, which, by the way, do drop after 55, and it affects bones, immunity, and mood. And it just makes you feel awake. Even on cloudy days, it works. Okay. And another thing is this is something you shouldn't skip. Stay connected. Once we hit at 55, 60, and beyond, it's easy to get a little quieter socially. The kids move out, they're married, they have their own families, um, and they're busy. They can't come see you as much as you'd like them to. And you're kind of left alone pretty much, just you and your spouse if you're fortunate enough to still have your spouse. Or if you're not married or your spouse is gone, you're kind of alone at that point. And so my recommendation is to make one small connection a week. All right. And that means calling a friend, have coffee with somebody, text your kids, something. Okay. Relationships are one of the biggest things that help us live longer and happier. Just one real conversation a week will make a huge difference. You'll see. So, here is the spring reset in a nutshell. Take a walk every day. 10 minutes to start if you're totally, if you're like me, totally out of shape, start with a 10-minute walk. Do that every day for a week or so till you can go to 20 minutes. Do that for another week or so till you can go to 30 minutes and so on and so forth. Have a big blast of water first thing when you wake up. Breakfast, make sure you get some protein in your breakfast. That's really important for your bones and your muscles, more so your muscles than anything. And again, remember, if you've been with me for a while, you know that we've talked about this before. It's called sarcopenia, where you're losing muscle mass, dramatically after 55, 60. You start losing a certain percentage every year and it just keeps going like an escalator. It just keeps going up. So counter that with some protein, be it a protein shake, be it eggs with cheese, cottage cheese, yogurt, whatever. Get some protein in the morning. The other thing we talked about was balance. Balance while you're brushing your teeth. Switch legs. One leg for 30 seconds, switch to the other leg for another 30 seconds. Hang on to the sink or the counter at first if that's what you need to do, then do it, but at least do it. Go out and get some morning sun. Once you've got your teeth brushed and you've done your one leg, balancing on one leg, and you've drank your water and everything, have some coffee, go outside, sit there and stand there, whatever, walk around your garden for 10, 20 minutes and get some sun. It's vitamin D, it's good for you. And it's gonna, again, it's gonna help with your sleep cycle and all that. And then make one social connection weekly. And I by saying make one, I mean, if you have people you can talk to, give them a phone call. Say hi. Hey, how's it going? Maybe we should have lunch one day. Well, let's have coffee one day, or whatever. Just anything. Just so that you're not in a cave by yourself, just slowly but surely rotting away. You don't want that. Okay. All right. So, and I'm not saying you should do all of these things to all at once together. I mean, pick one or two to start with. This is not a pressure thing. I'm just saying this is a good reset for spring. Spring's right around the corner. Incidentally, if I'm not mistaken, we set the clocks ahead this weekend on Saturday night, so we now have longer daylight hours. Spring, I've noticed, like I said, the trees are starting to bloom and everything, which means pollen season is right around the corner. Um, But yeah, there'll be some nice days, nice sunny days to get some sun and everything, walking and all that. So, pick one or two things and stay social with somebody. Okay. And, if you want, drop a comment in the comments as to, which one of these you want to try or ask me a question about any of them. Okay. Okay. Um, Let me see what else I got here. That's pretty much it for the health reset, and, simple things that are gonna move the needle. So, we got 20 minutes, 7:22 right now. So, okay, let me just get a quick water, and I will be, back in 1 second, okay? Hang on. Okay, we are back. So, let's jump into 2026 tax moves that can put real cash back in your pocket. We all want more cash in our pocket, do we not? Nobody likes paying more taxes than they have to, especially, not especially. I don't know where that came from. See, it's like every time I start off a segment here, I just get wacky. My mouth doesn't work right. My brain's not working right. I don't know. Anyhow, um, especially when you're living on retirement income or savings or Social Security, it's not easy. So we all want as much money back in our pockets as possible. And a lot of us don't know some of the ways we can save some of that money and keep it in our pocket from the tax man. The good news, 2026 has some new breaks and higher limits that we can actually use. And I know in the past, people have said, "Oh, there's good, tax breaks this year." Well, this year there actually is. So bear with me for a minute. And before anybody takes this to heart or whatever, or records this to sue me or whatever, this is just general information. It is not personal advice. It is not professional advice. Always consult a tax pro or your financial advisor to make sure before you do anything. I'm just giving you some advice. I am a bookkeeper, a tax prep person, and I'm familiar with taxes and all that. However, I am not a licensed financial advisor or anything like that. So, and I am not a CPA. I am a bookkeeper. But I do know about taxes, and I'm just giving you this stuff for general information. Like I said, don't act on what I'm saying without checking with your financial advisor or tax professional first. Okay. Um, these things, what I'm going to tell you are these are things that a lot of people our age are doing to keep more money in their pocket. And like I just said, always run it by your accountant or whoever, your financial professional. Okay. So, one of the big ones this year is the new senior bonus deduction. If you are 65 or older, you get an extra deduction up to $6,000 to $12,000 if you're married filing jointly. Now, this sits on top of the regular extra amount you already get for being over 65. You get it even if you take the standard deduction. So you don't need to itemize if you don't have to. Okay. It phases out at higher incomes. In other words, it's going to start shrinking once your income hits 75,000 if you're single or filing single, or it's double that if you're filing married jointly or whatever. But for most retirees, it's fully available. And why does this matter? because a lot of us pay taxes on Social Security because of combined income rules. Okay. This extra deduction lowers that number, which can cut or wipe out tax on your Social Security check. Now, I've talked to folks who said it saved them 800 to 1200 bucks. So, check and see if you qualify. Do not leave that money sitting there, okay? Take that to heart, unless you don't mind, having the government as your partner, as your money partner. That's what I tell the businesses that I deal with. Whether you know it or not, if you're not actively tax planning or whatever, you basically have a silent partner, which is the government, which has got their hand on your wallet, and they're going to get their cut, believe me. All right. Now, another thing that's this year another tax thing, is retirement account limits went up again for 2026. So this is a great chance to stuff more in if you can into your 401. Your 401, your 403, those plans have a $24,500 base. And what that means for those of you who aren't hip to what that means is that's the 24,500 is the standard ceiling for anyone who's contributing to these plans, regardless of your age. So if you are 50 or older, you can add $8,000 catch up, which is an additional amount on top of the base. Okay. That's going to bring you up to what, 32.5, I believe. Yeah, it's 32.5. Um, some plans let people who are 60 to 63 do even more. An IRA is 7,500 plus 1,100 to catch up. If your income is a little lower this year, maybe no bonus or you're semi-retired, use that window. Contributions lower taxable income now, and they grow for later. Now, here's a strategy that a lot of people miss: Roth conversions. If you are in a lower tax bracket right now, move some money from a traditional IRA or 401k to a Roth. And what that does is you pay tax now at today's lower rate, then everything grows tax free and it comes out tax free. There's no RMDs. And if you don't know what an RMD is, that's a required minimum distribution on a Roth. And it's essentially it's like paying early to avoid a bigger bill later. Do it a little at a time. Fill your current bracket without jumping higher. Here's a couple more fast ones for you. If you're 70 and a half or older and you like giving to charity, look at qualified charitable distributions, or QCDs. You can give straight from your IRA to a charity. That counts toward your RMD, but does not get added to taxable income. That's a nice win if you don't need the cash. Tax loss harvesting. If you've got investments that are down, sell them to offset the gains. You can deduct up to 3,000 net loss against regular income each year. Okay. And if you've got a high deductible health plan, you can max an MSA or an HSA and MSA. There's a factory here that's called MSA. Anyways, pre-tax in, tax-free growth, tax-free out for medical. Triple advantage. Perfect for healthcare costs down the road. All right. So, a quick recap for the 2026 tax year is: claim the new senior bonus deduction if you're 65 plus. Okay, max out those higher 401 and IRA limits. Think Roth conversions if your bracket is low. Use QCDs for charity if it fits. And last but not least, harvest losses and look at an HSA. Those are, to me, all great suggestions. Take them or leave it. Um, okay. Again, if you're watching this down the road, there's nobody here live, I don't see. But if you are, drop, leave me a comment. Which one of those do you think you would be more likely to use and do, and how much? And if you have any questions, by all means, feel free to send me an email. You can comment in the comments, or you can direct message me, I guess, on Facebook at the page there, at the Life After 55 page. There's all kinds of ways to get a hold of me. So, anyways, that's going to pretty much do it for the wealth segment tonight. Okay. And incidentally, before we move on from that, the other thing that bugged me about YouTube, you thought you done hearing me bellyache about that. The other thing that bugged me about that YouTube video, if I remember correctly, I had put in I've been building a course. Okay, it's the BBD course, which is borrow, buy, borrow, and die. Okay, this is what really wealthy people do, and they keep wealth in their families for generations. And I am building a course showing you how anybody can do this. And yes, it's at this age stage. It's going to take a little more to get it rolling. Um, and it may not. There's a lot of people that in this age bracket who are already there, and this would be very helpful for you. You basically cut out most of the taxes by doing this, and you wind up, when you die, all your heirs are going to inherit without the burden of the tax man or anything. So anyways, I am building a course. It's halfway done now, and it's ready to go because it's more than halfway done, actually. It's ready to go. And the way it's structured is you get 2 lessons a week until, and there's 10 modules altogether. So you get 2 modules a week for 5 weeks, and then you have it. But anyways, I was explaining all that on the video from the last live thing. And again, we do this every other week. So this would have been 2 weeks ago. And, they shadow banned it. And it's like, why? You know? There was nothing political in that stream, nothing at all. But anyways, all right, so that's enough of that, and I promise I won't bellyache about YouTube shadow banning me unless they do it again this week. But for now, I'm not gonna do that. All right, so last but not least, we are now going into segment number 3, okay? And that is our headline segment. Now, this headline segment this week was I thought it was I don't know, fun. I don't know about fun if that's the right word, but it's, I don't like doing anything political here or anything. So, again, that's the other reason that, well, I said I wouldn't talk about that again. I almost rolled back into the YouTube thing, but I won't. Um, but I don't like getting political here, and I've steered away from that from the get go. Um, anyways, as we roll into the headlines portion right now. Um, I'm gonna touch on something that might be viewed by some as political or whatever, and it's really not. And I don't mean to present it as that. I mean to present it in the way that it affects you. Now, unless you've been living under a rock, you know that the U.S. and Israel has struck Iran. Today is Tuesday. This happened, I guess, on Saturday when it started, and apparently it's still going on day by day. Um, one of the first headlines is, how is this going to affect you, you and your wallet, or will it affect you and your wallet? Okay. So, um, yes, it is. And I'm going to right now give you 5 ways that the US Israel strikes on Iran could hit your wallet. Okay. Now, again, this escalated in late February into early March, and oil markets are already reacting. Iran, whether you know it or not, is a major player in global oil supply, and any disruption, especially around the Strait of Hormuz, ripples straight to your wallet, whether you realize that or not. All right. Now, here are 5 ways this could hit you and affect you in an adverse way. The first one is the most obvious. Gas prices jump. Now, oil jumped 6 to 9% in the first few days after the strike. In other words, between Saturday and today, Tuesday, they've gone up 6 to 9%. Now, I've been busy in my office and I haven't really gone out that much in the last day and or in the last couple of days and noticed any of this. But today, while I was out and about, I noticed the gas prices. Last week when I was out, they were $2.73 where I am. Okay, today, when I went out, the same gas station that I normally go to, the gas price was I think it was 309 or 319. I think it was 309. So it went from 273 to 309 in a matter of days. And this is early on. Now, to get a little more in depth in that, if the Strait of Hormuz gets threatened, um, we could see, five to $20 per barrel price hikes. That would, equate to 20 to 80% more, or 20 to 80 cents more at the pump. And by the way, 20% of the world's oil flows through it, the Strait of Hormuz there. Okay, so you know, again, 20 to 80%, or I keep saying percent, 20 to 80 cents more at the pump. That's a lot, especially for somebody on a fixed income, and it gets worse. I'm gonna, as I go through this list, that was just the first thing. I'm gonna talk about 5 things here. So that was number one: is gas prices are going up, and they're more than likely going to keep going up until this thing, levels out or whatever, and hopefully it doesn't drag on. Secondly, heating and electricity bills are going to climb. Natural gas and electricity often follow oil trends. If refineries or shipping lanes get squeezed, your winter heating or your summer AC costs go up because the fuel has gone up. Okay, that's number two. Number three, stock market swings. Defense stocks and oil companies might go up, but broader markets hate uncertainty, and they do. Investors are skittish. That's a skittish bunch. It is, let's face it. And you can't blame them either. I mean, if you're investing, hundreds of thousands of dollars into something, you kind of want to make sure, or try to be as risk adverse as possible. And a war certainly isn't risk adverse. And, it's again, I mean, I don't want to turn this political or whatever. And, I understand what's going on and the reality of it, but it does affect the stock market, and it doesn't affect it in a good way. Let's put it that way. And that in turn means that your 401k or your IRA could take a short term hit from volatility in the market. So that's something to keep in mind. And that was the third thing that could hit you and cost you money because of this. Excuse me. All right. Another thing is travel is going to get pricier. Airlines always add fuel surcharges, cruises raise their rates, and any vacation or road trip that you have planned for this year could wind up costing a lot more than you originally budgeted for. Okay, and last but not least, our old friend inflation is going to creep back, which, again, you look at the pump prices, it's already starting. Um, Prolonged disruption means higher shipping and goods prices across the board. I mean, groceries are going to be affected again. And we're just starting to get those back down to what I considered a somewhat normal level. But, it takes farmers fuel to, run their tractors, to plant the seeds, to do their fields, to harvest and all that. Then it takes trucks to get that product or those vegetables or whatever, the farm harvest from the farm to the market, to the processor and to the market. So the price goes up there, and then from the processor to the grocery store is another trucking charge or railroad charge or whatever. All of those things use fuel. And again, if fuel is going up, $5 to $20 a barrel, it's going to affect everybody, like it or not, it is. So our old friend inflation is going to rear his ugly head again, and I think that's a given. And hopefully, like I said, this thing ends pretty quickly and, we start getting back to normal after that. Because if this thing was to end tomorrow or whatever, the stock market would bounce back relatively quickly, meaning a couple days, I think, at the most. But if it drags on, then I got a feeling we're in for higher prices again, like we had with, what's his face there, grocery wise, gas wise, and everything else wise. And again, energy companies too, they're not immune. They have supplies they need that get trucked in and everything. Um, you know, they use fuel to generate power in a lot of places still. So your power bills are going to go up. Right now, where I am, they're talking about raising the rates here. To me, the rates are outrageous as they are, and now they're talking about another price increase. I just got an email, I believe it was today, that I didn't really even delve into deeply, but I know I got it, and they're talking about jacking the rates again. It's nuts to me. Anyhow, be that as it may. So, yeah, this is going to affect you whether you like it or not. Like I said, if it's going to be travel, you get gas at the pump, any vacation you plan on taking, if you got a stock market or if you're in the stock market, or if you even have a 401, you're in the stock market, whether you know that or not. And all those things are going to take a hit, you know, heating oil, like I said, and electricity bills are going to go up. They are. But hopefully this all goes, ends in a few days and we get back to some semi-normal very quickly. That's the hope anyways. Okay. And let me know by the way too in the comments if what is gas where you are. Like I said over here now as of today, I told you today is Tuesday, March 3rd. The price went up from 273 last Thursday, I believe it was when I got gas, um, to today, it's 309 or 319. I forgot. I can look it up, I'm sure, but I don't wanna do that right now. But, I could tell you in the chat how much gas is. But, yeah, let me know how much gas is where you are. Um, so that's that, and the next thing I wanna talk about, the next headline is 5 lies about air conditioning that most people still believe, and they are quietly costing you hundreds every summer. So you say, no, there's nothing I don't know about heating and air. Ah, stand corrected. You may know all this, but if not, for those of you who don't know this stuff, hopefully it helps you. It helps keep a that's what we're all about here, is helping you keep a couple bucks in your pocket, helping you stay healthy so you can enjoy the couple bucks in your pocket. That's the essence of this whole program here. Um, you know, and it's for our age group. It's not for, if you're 20 years old or 30 years old, no, this is all for our age group. All right. So, what are the myths about air conditioning that a lot of people still believe and it's costing them money? Here's number 1. Cranking the thermostat way down cools the room faster. Now, a lot of times people will turn off their air during the day in the summer. It's 90 degrees outside or 95 degrees outside. There's no air on in the house during the day. They come home at 4, 5, 6 o'clock, whatever. The house is roasting when they come home. They open the door, they're like hit with a it's like getting hit blast of hot air, walking into your house because you came home in an air conditioned car or an air conditioned bus, an air conditioned cab or Uber or Lyft or whatever. And then you suddenly, open your door and you just, it's a heat wave hits you. And they think they're saving money by doing that, and to an extent, you might be, but in the long run, you're not, because now when you get in, 99% of these people that do that, the first thing they do is they hit the AC and they crank it. They turn it on as low as it'll go, thinking that it's gonna cool the place down fast. That is a fallacy, a misconception. What that does is it makes the AC run longer and it makes it run harder, wasting energy and money. All right. Set it 2 to 3 degrees lower than usual and let it run steady. And in the daytime, if you're going to work or whatever, instead of turning it off, turn it up to, like, 75, 78 or whatever. At least that way it'll still be warm when you come home. But at least that way it's not going to cost you a fortune to turn it down to back down to 72, 73, whatever you like, whatever you're comfortable with, and cool the place down, and it'll be a lot more efficient and cost effective that way than coming in and just cranking it. And it's probably gonna save, some life in your air conditioning unit itself. So, again, don't turn it off thinking you're saving money because 'cause you're really not. If you were to draw your blinds in the daytime or whatever, and keep the house as cool, keep as much sun out of the house as possible during the day. It's not going to I mean, yes, it's going to heat up, but you'll save money in the long run, leaving it, like I said, drawing your blinds closed and turning the air up to 75, 78, somewhere in there, and letting it run all day, on and off, and keeping it at that temperature. Whereas when you come home, you just got to crank it down a little bit to, 73, 72, and it'll cool faster and more efficiently. Here's another one: ceiling fans. A lot of people think ceiling fans cool the room. They do not. They move air and they make you feel cooler, but they do not lower the actual temperature. Running them with AC on high is fine for comfort, but turn them off when you leave. When you turn them off, that saves electricity, and on top of that, if you leave the fan running all day when you're not there or whatever, the fan has an electrical motor which generates heat. I'm not saying it generates a ton of heat, but it does generate some heat. That heat now is in that room. You're kinda, um you're defeating the purpose of the air conditioning, kind of, I mean, no, you're not, because it's not that much heat, but there is still heat coming off there. So, in essence, it's not saving you any money to leave that fan on. Turn the fan off when you go, turn it back on when you're back in the room. Here's another one: closing vents in unused rooms saves money. No, actually, it doesn't. It can hurt. It puts extra pressure on the system, it reduces the airflow, and it makes your AC work harder, which in turn means higher bills and potential repairs. Okay, another thing that people are another myth here is a bigger AC unit is always better. Not true. Oversized units short cycle. In other words, they turn on and off too fast. They don't dehumidify properly and they wear out faster. Right sized is cheaper to run and it's more comfortable. And last but not least, number 5, you only need to change the filter once a year. That too is wrong. You should change it at least once every 1 to 3 months, depending on dust and pets. Dirty filters make the system run 5 to 15% less efficiently, which in turn equates to higher bills and worse air quality. All right, here's a quick tip for you. Check your filter this week. Is it dirty? If it is, replace it. Replacing it could save you 50 to 100 to 100 bucks this summer on your bill. All right, and last but not least, I wanted to do one last headline, and we're running out of time, so I got to kind of blast through this quickly. But this is like 6 things that you can get rid of right now as far as cleaning up your documents, and 7 things you should absolutely hang on to. Okay, so here are 6 things you can safely shred or delete right now. One, old utility bills, after you reconcile them with your bank statements. Two, your pay stubs. Once you have your W 2 or your 1099, you don't need your pay stubs anymore. You can get rid of those. Okay. Three, bank or credit card statements. After you match them with your taxes and you reconcile and all that, you don't need those either. Four is medical bills after payment and insurance has been processed. You don't need those. And number 5, old tax supporting receipts. After 3 years, you don't need them unless you think you're at risk of an audit. Okay. And number 6 is outdated investment statements. You only need to keep your current year and tax related statements. Okay. Here are 7 things you must keep. 1, filed tax returns. You keep those indefinitely or at least for 7 years. Now, the IRS says 3 or 4 years, but you know what? Keep them for 7 because I've known people that have gotten audited, 5, 6, 7, 8 years back. Okay, so I would hang on to those for at least, 10 years, to be safe. That's me. Again, check with your financial professional if you don't think that's the way to go. All right. Again, these are things that you should keep. A home purchase or sale documents, and that's for capital gains basis. Um, your retirement and your IRA statements. You need those until the funds are withdrawn. Insurance policies, current ones and your claims history. You need to keep those. Your marriage and divorce decrees. This affects your taxes, your benefits, and your inheritance. Okay. So you need to keep those. And 6 is wills, trusts, powers of attorney, and other critical legal documents. Hang on to those, you know, um, living wills, trusts, all that stuff. That's important. Hang on to those. And 7, last but not least, is vehicle titles and major purchase receipts. This proves your ownership. Okay. The things that you need to here's my suggestion for this. The things you need to keep, scan those into a secure cloud folder, which is password protected, and shred the paper with a cross-cut shredder. Don't use anything other than a cross-cut shredder. There's a guy I think on YouTube that does he's a former FBI agent. He was talking about shredders and he said, if you use one of these crappy shredders, they can put together a full page or whatever in something like 10 minutes. So a cross-cut shredder, he was saying, is the best because it's literally impossible to put something back together. All right. So if you're shredding stuff, use a cross-cut shredder. It's less clutter and it's less stress. So there you have it. Those are the headlines that hit close to home this week. We had the Iran oil risk. We had the AC lies that are draining your wallet and a quick document purge to lighten your load. So which one, if any, surprised you? Let me know in the comments. Okay. That's going to do it for now. So we covered a lot. We started, like I said, with our spring health reset. Those are wins to get you moving. I gave you some real tax moves that can save you money in 2026. And I went over some headlines that actually matter to your wallet, your home, and your peace of mind. I just want to say thank you. Seriously. Thank you for spending your evening with me, whether you were here live the whole time or popped in and out. The fact that you chose to hang out here means a lot. It keeps me coming back every other Tuesday, ready to share whatever I can, even if I rant and rave sometimes. Um, I share whatever I can that's helpful. If any of tonight's tips or info was helpful, even just one small thing, please drop a quick comment below. Let me know what hit home for you. It really helps me to know what to focus on next time. And if you enjoyed the stream, including my rant and rave and bo- my my botches here and there, I would be grateful if you would hit the like button, share it with a friend who might need this kind of info, and subscribe if you want to catch the next one. You can also laugh along with me or laugh at me, whatever. Speaking of, our next live will be right here at 7 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday, March 17th. That's also St. Patty's Day, but again, I'm not a St. Patty's Day partaker. And if you are, I get it. I understand. Personally, I'm not one to go out and slug down beers or anything else alcoholic that's gonna get me all bacalawed. So if you are like me and you are not out partying on St. Patty's Day, come join us next Tuesday or the following Tuesday, March 17th. Same time, same place. We will dive into more health, more wealth, more headlines that help us thrive after 55. Also, before I go, I wanted to just say one more thing. Um, please, we're trying to get this, with this thing with YouTube. We are trying to live stream this on Facebook. A lot of people have said that they would prefer that we were on Facebook because they don't really like being here on YouTube for whatever reason, and I get that. So we started a Facebook page, but Facebook tells us we need at least 100 followers in order to live stream over there. So if you could, please do us a favor, do us a solid. Go to facebook.com/LA55HWH. That's our page address over there on Facebook. Please like and follow the page so we can get going over there. Okay. Again, we need 100 people over there. I think we only have like 5 or 10 right now. So if we can get that rolling, that would be great. You can also follow us on X. On X, we're at Live After 55 Live. Um, and on YouTube, this channel is at 55 Health Wealth. So if you could follow us on X, watch the video here, share it if it helps you, or if you think it'll help anybody, or if somebody needs a laugh or whatever. Okay. Um, but I think that is going to do it for me for this week, for this episode. Um, so yeah. Um, Again, like, share, comment. It helps with the algorithm. It helps with all that. And again, please go to our Facebook page and follow us there so we can start live streaming over there instead of over here, or we can do both, I guess. But until then, that's going to do it. So until then, take care of yourselves. Stay connected with the people who matter in your life and keep moving forward. Okay, remember the spring reset that we're going to do, and you guys can do that with me. I can report back to you on March 17th of my walking. You can take bets. Did he walk or did he not walk? Did he lie to us? Did he, you know? And I can tell you because now I'm going to make sure that I do it so nobody can say, "Oh, you buffaloed us" or whatever. I'm not going to do that. Um, but yeah, you can do it with me, and then we can compare notes. I can say, yeah, well, I went to the mall every day, and I walked in the morning for an hour, or for 20 minutes, or for 15 minutes, whatever. And you tell me your war stories too. Okay, you've got this. All right. Good night, everybody, and I will talk to you soon. Take care. Bye bye.